The Golden State Warriors defeated the Los Angeles Lakers the other night, 134 to 120. They got a crucial win in LA. This game has some ramifications on the playoff standing in the West. I would say very minor since both of these teams are playing to just get in. They're outside of the 8th seed. Most likely they'll end up in the play-in bracket. Granted, there's still a chance that one of them could sneak up and take the 8th seed right now. It's very close with Sacramento only being a game ahead of these two teams. This is very close. It's not final yet. We could see quite a few teams play musical chairs in the next several days. But one thing I want to point, and I find this interesting, when you look at the Western Conference, the top three teams in the West are Denver, Minnesota, and OKC. In no particular order, I said that. But they are in the top three. Right now, as I check the standings, Minnesota's number one. Denver's number two. They have the same record. They'll be playing each other tonight. That game could have huge ramifications on who gets the number one seed. But I will say this. I strongly believe that neither the Lakers or the Warriors want to go into round one facing the Denver Nuggets. The Denver Nuggets are young. They're still in their prime. But now they're a veteran team. They've already won a championship. They've been on several deep playoff runs in the past. So they have all that going for them now, that I feel one of the biggest strengths of a LeBron-led team has been in the past is that they've been able to take advantage of inexperienced young teams, that they're able to upset them. I saw this in Cleveland during his second stint when he would take out those Raptor teams with DeMar and Kyle Lowry. Also when he took out that young Celtic team, I think it was in 2019 or 2018. It was in 2018. Yeah, I remember it was 2018 when he took out the Tatum-led Celtics team. That was when I think Tatum was a rookie back then. So he was able to take advantage of those teams because they were inexperienced. And I've always felt LeBron had some weird aura when it comes to these younger players, that they're very intimidated of him, and they tend to fall apart during the playoffs if they're inexperienced, that they just suddenly choke or melt when they see LeBron. It's like out of like some kind of horror movie like Halloween or something. Just it's very frustrating to watch, but I've seen this over the years, just these teams melt down and just completely fall apart when they play LeBron. It's like suddenly they're just scared and they can't do anything. Last year was a good example of that too, when you saw the Grizzlies melt down against LeBron, that they just suddenly fell apart. They got intimidated, I felt. Granted, there was some luck in Ja getting that hand injury, but still, just you saw LeBron really was in their heads that they fell apart against him, and it was very disappointing to see, but that's always been his strength. He can intimidate these young and experienced teams. With the Nuggets, if he faces up with them, he doesn't have that advantage. They're not even scared of LeBron. They just view him as another guy now since they swept him. That whatever psychological hold he held on them, that went away last year. He had it in 2020 because they had the advantage of the bubble, but they erased those demons by beating him last year. And not just beating him, but by sweeping him. That if they face the Nuggets again, most likely they get swept, and at best they probably only win one game. You have to wonder if LeBron really wants to get humiliated by the Nuggets again. I think it'll be worse to lose in round one than what happened last year. At least he went to the Western Conference Finals. LeBron always likes to go on these deep playoff runs and then lose. Like in Cleveland during his second stint when he lost to the Warriors a ton of times in the finals, at least he could go out looking like he was like Joan of Arc or something, like some kind of like Messiah figure that was put on the cross. That type of stuff. It was always crazy just how the media would hype it up, kind of like a religious figure dying as a martyr, as I would say, like a basketball death. But I think LeBron likes that glorification, but losing in the first round, it doesn't suit him well. You can't glorify a guy who's got his ass whooped in round one. There's just nothing to glorify about it. I don't know even how you hype that up. Granted, they'll probably try to make AD a scapegoat for him failing, but I just think it will just be a very embarrassing moment by LeBron, and a moment where people will actually have to question how legit LeBron is as a game-changing superstar when he can't even get out of round one. So I definitely don't think he wants to play them. I think that'll be interesting to see what happens when it comes to this positioning strategy by the Lakers. I feel this is the same deal with the Warriors, that they had the same type of aura, like I described with LeBron, with younger and inexperienced teams, that these young teams with no experience, they tend to freeze up against the Warriors and they tend to choke, they tend to panic. I saw this with Sacramento last year, that they should have won that series, but they ended up choking it away, especially when they came back from being down 3-2, blowing out the Warriors on the home court, only to get blown out in Game 7 at their home court. It was very disappointing. Also, I saw that during their 2022 championship run, they beat a lot of these inexperienced teams, that these teams just melted when they played the Warriors. You saw the Grizzlies just fall apart when they actually had the talent to beat the Warriors in that second round series. Granted, Ja did get hurt, so that was kind of disappointing, but just the first game of that series, you saw their lack of inexperience really show, and then melting crunch time. Then you had the Mavericks, who completely weren't prepared to deal with them, and they were an experienced team, and they took advantage of them. Granted, I didn't think the Mavericks had the talent to beat them at that time, but then you go to the finals. The Celtics do have the talent. They have a little bit of experience, I would say, but Tatum, Jaylen Brown is still very young, inexperienced in playing in the finals, that the moment was too big for them, I felt, and they choked against the Warriors. They got intimidated once that series got tight, and they disappeared. So the Warriors are also like LeBron. They're great at taking advantage of young, experienced teams, but in this case with the Nuggets, Nuggets are not going to be scared of them. They're already champions. They've already been through the fire. So the Warriors' aura just goes completely away, and they just become just another team. I believe the Nuggets would probably beat them in 5 games or even sweep them. So I think the Warriors know that too, though, since the Nuggets have beaten them. I think every time they matched up with them this year, I could be wrong, but I think they've lost. They've gotten swept during the season series. The Warriors definitely don't have the confidence, I think, to beat the Nuggets, or the talent to do it at this point in time. So they definitely don't want to face the Nuggets. And that's why I find this interesting. If both are the 9th and 10th seed still, and they're in the play-in, and Nuggets clinch the number 1 seed, would any of these teams really want to face them? I don't think so. I think that play-in game would be hilarious, where you'll see both of those teams trying to lose just to avoid the embarrassment of having to face the Nuggets. I truly believe that. And even for the team that wins, they'll try to lose the next game against the 8th seed, simply because they would not want to deal with getting embarrassed by Denver. I think both of those teams have a lot of pride and a lot of ego. Losing to Denver would pretty much humble them, I think, to a large degree, and slam the door shut on them being even considered a championship contender in the future. There will be no questions. You lose to defending champs, you're definitely not a contender, especially if you lose to them in round 1. That's how I feel about this situation. It's going to be very interesting to see how this plays out. But like I said, Lakers, Warriors definitely don't want to face the Nuggets in round 1. They're hoping to face an inexperienced team like the OKC Thunder, or even the Minnesota Timberwolves to some degree. Granted, I think the Timberwolves can beat either of those teams, but they would have a better shot against the Timberwolves for an upset versus the Nuggets. That's the way I feel about this situation.